Hi guys, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood, Jule Saynes. I'm here to read my story, Heist of Haddonfield. So here we go. It is October 30th, 2012. The road of life can lead us many places, but to those places we are led to more often than not depend on the choices we make. Driving down a road in a black van are two men who have made very bad choices. You see, these men are thieves, they're bank robbers, and they're driving down a road to a place called Haddonfield, and to a moment in their lives neither man will ever forget. In the driver's seat is a white male named Felix. Next to him in the passenger seat is his partner in crime for the past 15 years, an African American man named Lester. They are driving to the town of Haddonfield to pull one last bank job. A job they were made aware of by a fellow thief named Kyle. Lester: "You really want to rob a bank with Kyle? Man, you know he is bad luck." Felix: "You forget, Kyle has been on this job for months. He has scouted the bank really well. He knows the ins and outs of this job that we're walking into. Remember what I taught you. Never walk into a job blind, because if you do, then Lester finishes his sentence. Lester: "Yeah, I know. If you walk in blind, you'll miss every problem that could be right in front of you." Just then, Lester pulls out a cigar and a pack of matches. Lester puts the cigar in his mouth and pulls a match from the pack and sees a sign. He strikes the match, causing a flame to appear. He lights the cigar in his mouth. We soon see smoke coming from the cigar. As Lester rolls down the passenger side window, he soon sees a sign. It says, "Welcome to Haddonfield." After a while, they soon enter the town of Haddonfield, passing several homes in the yards of these homes are Halloween decorations. Fake tombstones, fake spider webs with spiders on top of them, lights with ghosts shining up and down one of the houses. Lester: "Jesus Christ, these people really love Halloween." "So, do you trust Kyle?" Felix: "Of course, I trust Kyle. He's a good thief." Lester: "I didn't say he wasn't a good. But our style and his style don't mix well. Remember, he likes packing that .45 caliber on bank jobs, and we don't use guns." Felix: "So Kyle is a bit of a gun nut. Look, we'll tell him he can't bring the gun along." So after a while, Felix and Lester pull up in their van to a candy store that says Jessica's Sweet and Sour Store. Felix: "Well, this is the place." Lester taps Felix on the right arm. Lester: "That must be the bank. No wonder Kyle picked this store. It's right across from the bank." So Felix and Lester pull the van around back and park. They leave their van behind the store and off the main streets and roads. They get out of the van and enter the back of the candy store. Both Felix and Lester get out of the van. Then Lester throws his cigar on the ground and steps on it. And Felix and Lester... No, sorry, I skipped the line, sorry. Enter the back of the candy store. Okay. Back of the candy store. Okay. They walk in the back of Jessica's candy shop and open the door. They walk into the shop to see Kyle. by a row of jars. The jars are filled with jelly beans. Kyle is placing another jar of jelly beans on the shelf. Lester and Felix look around the store to see no cameras. Felix: I hope this isn't the job you had in mind for us, Kyle. Kyle turns his head to see Felix and Lester. Kyle: holy shit, you made it. Kyle places the last jar of jelly beans on the top shelf. Then he climbs down off the ladder, opens the countertop, and shakes Lester and Felix's hand. Kyle: it's great to see you guys again. It's been, what, 10 years? Felix: yeah, kid. 10 years. It's been a long time. Lester: not long enough. Kyle: I heard that. Felix walks toward the window. As he looks out the window, he stares right at the bank, which is right across from Jessica's candy store. Felix: I gotta hand it to you, Kyle. You picked the perfect location. But a small town and a small bank. Kyle: when you see the vault, you're gonna eat those words, Felix. Felix smiles at Kyle. Felix: you've seen the vault? Lester: what did you do? See it from all the way across the street? Kyle: no, I'm one of the nightly security guards. I guard the bank at night, so security won't be an issue. Lester: wait a second. If you guard the bank at night, who runs this store? Kyle: Jessica runs the store at night. She'll come in around 5 p.m. and I'll leave for the bank. Felix: wait, Jessica, as in the same Jessica's name on this store? Kyle: the very same one. Felix and Lester look at each other. Felix nods his head at Lester. Then Lester grabs Kyle by the collar of the shirt. Lester begins shaking Kyle and yells at him. Lester: are you this fucking stupid? Better yet, do you think we're stupid? Kyle: no, wait, you don't understand. Lester: oh, we understand perfectly clear. We pull this job for you, yet the moment we pull this job, a woman who runs a candy store is going to tell the police, oh yes, officer, we saw there were these men who worked in my store, and they looked very suspicious. In fact, let me tell you what they looked like. Then the next thing you know, all three of our faces are all over the news. Kyle: no, you really don't understand. Felix: what don't we understand, Kyle? You better tell us everything, because if you don't, Jessica and you will be sharing a very watery grave. Kyle: she's blind. Lester: what? Kyle: Jessica, she can't see. She's completely blind. She even uses one of those cane things to help her. Lester lets Kyle go. Lester: you better be telling us the truth. Kyle: when she gets here, you can see it for yourselves. Felix: all right, let's say she's blind. When would we pull the job? Kyle: Halloween night. Lester: that's not a lot of time to prep for a job. Kyle: the vault itself is on an electronic lock. It has to be hacked by a computer. That's where you guys come in. Lester: we hack the locks and the vault opens without the alarms going off. Kyle: right. I'll have the camera shut off by the time you guys show up. It's really simple. Felix: let's just start with Jessica and we'll just see how simple things are. Felix, Lester, and Kyle wait as the clock ticks by. All three men are doing things in the store. They make the time pass by. Felix is sweeping the floor. Lester is checking the store's inventory, and Kyle is running the cash register. It is now 5 o'clock. Kyle has his security guard outfit on. Just then, a woman wearing dark sunglasses and hitting a cane against the sidewalk Just then this woman stops right in front of the candy store. The door of the store comes open. Kyle. Hi, Jessica. Good evening. Jessica Hawk. Oh, hi, Kyle. I'm sorry if I'm late. Kyle. Oh, it's okay. Hey, you remember how I said I was going to get some extra help? Well, I called two old friends of mine to help you. This is Felix and Lester. They're here to help run the store. Jessica Hawk. Oh, it's nice to know Kyle could get some help. You both must be great friends of his. Felix. Oh, we are. We go back a long time. Jessica has her hand extended, going toward Felix. He notices she didn't do that until after he spoke. Felix extends his hand in return, shaking Jessica's hand. Lester. Hi, I'm Lester. Jessica goes from shaking Felix's hand to Lester's. Jessica Hawk. So, you are both here to help with the night shift? Felix. That's us. Jessica Hawk. Well, here's the thing. I only need one of you for the night shift. Kyle. Well, I'll leave the three of you to decide who does that. See you later. Felix and Lester shake their heads as Kyle leaves. Lester. You go ahead, Felix. I'll help Jessica with the store. Felix. All right. I'll see you later. So Felix leaves the store and begins walking. Meanwhile, back in the store, Lester and Jessica begin talking. Jessica Hawk. So, have you ever worked a candy store before? Lester. No. Jessica Hawk. I do get a good deal of customers, especially around this time of year. This store may be small, but we have a very large selection here. Lester. I can see that. You must carry every kind of candy ever made. Jessica Hawk. Well, we do. We carry jelly beans, gummy bears, and every kind of chocolate you can imagine. Yes, sir, we have it all. Just then the door of the candy shop comes open, and some customers walk into the store. Two young kids approach the counter. One boy's name is Ryan, and his sister Emily. Jessica greets them. Jessica Hawk. Hi, how may I help you? Ryan. We would like to see a couple of jars of jelly beans. Jessica Hawk. Oh, jelly beans. Those are on the top shelf. Lester. I'll get them for you. So Lester lifts the countertop and walks behind the counter. He then closes the countertop and walks and takes the ladder with the wheels on it and rolls it over 2 whole rows, placing the ladder right underneath the jelly beans. Then he climbs the ladder to the top where the jelly beans are. Lester. How many jars? Emily. 2, please. So Lester grabs 1 jar and walks it down. He sets it on the counter. He then walks back to the ladder. He climbs back up it and gets the second jar of jelly beans. He comes back down the ladder and sets the second jar of jelly beans beside the first one. Jessica Hawk. Well, you both are in luck. Because of Halloween coming up, I am having a sale. All candy is half off. So these jars are usually $2. They're only $1.50. So Ryan lays $1.02 on the counter. By the sound of the quarters landing on the counter, Jessica can tell where the money is. As she reaches for the money with one hand, she feels for the cash register with the other. She has done this so many times in her life. She knows right where the numbers are on the register. She punches in $1.50. Just then the cash register comes open. Jessica puts the money in the cash register and shuts the register. Jessica Hawk. Thank you for shopping at Jessica's Candy Store. Please come again and have a happy Halloween. Ryan. We will. And you both have a happy Halloween too, Miss Hawk. Emily, bye, Jessica. Love your store. The two children leave. There is a big smile on Jessica's face. Lester, I should have helped out more. Jessica Hawk, oh no, what you did was more than enough. Lester, Lester, how long have you been blind? Jessica Hawk, ever since birth. Lester, I'm so sorry. Jessica, who is now facing Lester. Jessica Hawk, don't be sorry, Lester. Sorry is something I've heard my whole life. I've come to learn through my life, and learning to live this way, you can either pity yourself or you can do something with yourself. Well, I choose to do something with my life. Lester, you're something else, Jessica. Jessica reaches her hand out and it lands on Lester's shoulder. Then she brings her hand up, touching Lester's face. Lester stands there as she touches his face with one hand, and she brings her other hand up to her face and removes her sunglasses, revealing her ocean blue eyes. Lester, you're very a beautiful woman. Jessica, Jessica Hawk, and you have a very rough but kind face, Lester. Do you work out? Lester, sometimes I do. You see, I was in the army a long time ago. Lester realizes he's telling too much about himself and steps away from Jessica. Jessica Hawk, I'm sorry if I upset you. Lester, no, just bad memories is all. Meanwhile, we see Felix, who has walked to a pawn shop and bought 2 laptops. He brings the laptops out of the shop and back to the van. He puts them into the van and then shuts the doors. He comes back into the store. Lester, good, you're back. You can take the rest of the night with her. I'm not. Felix, why not? Lester, that girl has an effect on me. Felix smiles at Lester. Felix, what effect would that effect be hanging between your legs, Lester? Lester, fuck you, Felix. Felix begins laughing at Lester as he walks off. Felix goes into the store laughing still. All the while, Jessica is standing there. Felix looks at her standing, blonde hair there with her blonde hair and her blue eyes. Felix, well, now you are a looker. Jessica, I think I made an impression on your good old. I made an impression on Lester. Or sorry, yeah, Felix says, well, now you're a looker, Jessica. I think you made a good old impression on my good old friend Lester. Jessica Hawk, I didn't mean to upset him. Felix, oh, don't worry about him. He's always been a tad on the touchy side. The rest of the night sees a couple more customers come and buy candy from the candy store. Once 10 p.m. rolls around, the store closes up for the night. It will open up tomorrow at 10 a.m. on October 10 a.m. October 31st, Halloween. As the morning sun comes up over the quiet little town of Haddonfield, Felix and Lester have decided to stay with Kyle in his one-bedroom apartment. Lester taking the couch, Felix taking the floor, and Kyle taking the only bed. All 3 men are waking up at the same time, and they begin talking about the bank of Haddonfield. Felix, so we have the computers. Now, how sure that they won't add extra security? Kyle, because nothing ever happens in this little town. There's never been a robbery, a murder, nothing. That's why there's so little security at the bank. Isn't this great? Just then Lester pulls out a cigar and his lighter. He lights his cigar and then some smoke comes from the end of Lester's cigar, all the while looking at Kyle. Lester, you don't find that odd? Kyle, no. Lester looks over at Felix. Felix looks at Lester, then looks at Kyle. Felix, Kyle, not to call you a liar here, but every town has a history, a criminal history to boot. Kyle, no, I'm telling you, I checked this town. It has never had any crime happen. Felix, interesting. Meanwhile, in a house on Star Street, we hear a telephone ring. We see a small hand touch the top of the telephone. The hand seems to be reacting to the sound of the phone as it rings 2 more times. Just then, we see this person pick up the phone. The person who answers the phone is none other than Jessica Hawk. Jessica Hawk, hello? Sylvia sprints, hey girl, it's me, Sylvia. Jessica Hawk, oh my god, it's been so long. How have you been? Sylvia sprints, come answer your door and find out I'm standing outside your house. Jessica Hawk, oh my, give me a couple minutes. Jessica Hawk reaches for the telephone trying to find the receiver. She finds it and hangs up the telephone. She then reaches for her titanium stick. She finds it with her right hand and then begins pounding the titanium stick against the floor to get her bearings. Once she does, she begins moving forward toward her bedroom door. She feels for the knob and gets it on the first try. She then turns the knob and opens the door. She then continues to use her titanium stick. Just by the slightest sound, Jessica can tell where she is and how far she is from something else. Her extrasensory perception is that good. So now Jessica stands in front of her door and opens it. When she does, her longtime friend Sylvia Springs is standing right in front of her. Sylvia Springs, hey girl. Jessica, hey Sylvia, please come in. So Sylvia comes in and shuts the door. Sylvia and Jessica hug. Sylvia Springs, I have a huge surprise for you, girl. Jessica Hawk, what surprise? Sylvia Springs, well, your old pal, Sylvia, that's me, has brought some of our old friends from high school, brought them into town, and we've decided to have a costume party on Halloween night. And you, my dear friend, are coming. Jessica Hawk, but the store, Halloween night is huge business for my store. I just can't drop everything at the last minute. Sylvia Springs, I thought you had help at the store. Jessica Hawk, that's right, Kyle's friends, I forgot. Sylvia Springs, wait, you got more help. Jessica Hawk, well, Kyle has these 2 friends who just came into town, and they started helping at the store just yesterday. Sylvia Springs, oh, well, there you go. You see, you can come to the Halloween party with me and have a good time. Jessica Hawk, I guess you're right. Sylvia Springs, come on, girl, let's get you a bath and then we'll dry you off and brush your hair and then get you dressed and go to the store and buy a costume. Jessica Hawk, oh, this is going to be so much fun. Meanwhile, we see Felix, Lester, and Kyle driving to Jessica's candy store. After a little while, they arrive at Jessica's candy store. Lester pulls the van around back and puts it in park. He shuts off the engine and then all 3 men get out of the van. Kyle pulls out the keys to Jessica's candy store. Lester, she gave you the keys to her store. Kyle, yeah, why not? I am helping her. Felix, only a blind woman would give you keys to a store. So Kyle smiles and unlocks the back door of Jessica's candy store. He opens the door and all 3 men walk in. After they do, Kyle closes the back door. As he does this, Lester walks over and opens the blinds that are covering the window. Once he opens them, he sees the within the very bank all three men intend on robbing. Felix, we pull the job tonight at 9 p.m. Kyle, that's a little fast, isn't it? Felix, is there anything you haven't told us about the nighttime security or the bank? Kyle, I've told you both everything there is to know. Lester, then why the hesitation? Kyle, well, Jessica's store gets real busy on Halloween night. It takes at least two people or more to run this store. Lester, it's simple. One of us will help run the store with Jessica, while you and one of us rob the bank. Kyle, all right, tonight. Then, all three men have big smiles on their faces. Their plan seems to be falling into place, going exactly the way they want it. Meanwhile, across town at Nate's costume shop, we see Sylvia and Jessica shopping for Halloween costumes. Jessica tells Sylvia what size she is, and Sylvia finds a Halloween costume for Jessica. Sylvia sprints, let's try this one on. Sylvia and Jessica go into the dressing room together. Sylvia helps Jessica get into her costume. Then after a while, they both come out of the dressing room. Jessica is dressed in a purple dress with stars and a moon on it. Jessica Hawk, well, how do I look? Sylvia, you look great. I can't wait for the others to see you. Jessica Hawk, do you think we could go to the salon so I could get my hair done? Sylvia Sprints, sure, I need to get mine done too. So the girls go to the salon and get their hair done. Sylvia gets her hair cut and permed while Jessica gets her hair braided. After a while, the girl's hair is all finished. Meanwhile, back at Jessica's candy store, we see all three men, Kyle, Lester, and Felix, minding the store. Felix, so the big question is, which one of us is going into the bank tonight with Kyle? Felix pulls a quarter out of his pocket. Felix looks at Lester. Felix, call it. Felix flips the quarter into the air. Lester, tails never fails. The quarter comes down slowly as Lester and Felix watch the quarter come down. Both men have different expression on their faces. Felix is smiling, while Lester can feel something different about this day. As he watches the quarter come down, Lester feels as if this coin flip, hell, this day will define their entire lives. Lester can't seem to shake this feeling he has. The quarter lands right in Felix's hand. Felix looks at the quarter, then at Lester. He smiles. Felix, well, my friend, you win. Looks like the inside of the bank is your destiny. Lester looks at Felix, who is holding up the quarter. Lester is now looking at tails. Lester, maybe this town is our fate. Look, is it alright if I take the van? There's something I want to check out. Felix, sure. Lester, you know we trust you. As Lester goes to the back door, so does Felix. Felix touches Lester on the shoulder as he gets outside. Felix, hey, what's wrong? Lester, something's not right. There's something I want to look into. Felix, about the bank? Lester, about this town. What Kyle said doesn't seem or sound right. Come on, Felix, name me another town that doesn't have a crime rate. Felix, all right, let me know if you find anything. Remember, 9 p.m. is the heist. Lester, I'll be there. So Lester takes the van and drives off. He goes to the local library. Once he gets there, he goes inside and speaks to the librarian. Lester, excuse me, but do you have to be a member of this library to use the computers here? Librarian, yes, you can purchase a library card and then you may use the computers here. Lester, how much is a library card? Librarian, $10. So Lester pulls out a $10 bill and hands it to the librarian. She takes the money and puts it in the register. In a couple of minutes, the librarian makes Lester a library card. She hands him a library card. Lester, thank you. Lester goes into the room where the computers are and sits down in the chair. He turns on the computer. Meanwhile, across town, we see Felix and Kyle tending to some customers. 4 customers already this morning, and 3 more walk in as soon as the other 4 leave. They help the 3 customers by getting them the candy they're each looking for. After they get each customer their candy, the customers pay for their candy and leave the store. Felix, wow, 5 customers already today. This place does pick up on Halloween. Kyle, yeah, it does. I just hope it isn't too much for you and Jessica to handle. Felix, relax, it'll be fine. Kyle, maybe it's Lester you should tell that to. Felix, look, he just has a bad feeling about something. Kyle, look, this job is simple. With you guys helping now, there's nothing to worry about. We have a good thing here. Felix, you've heard the phrase too good to be true, right? Doesn't this all seem a little too good? Kyle, no, it doesn't. Sometimes you have to take things at face value. You told me that once yourself, Felix. Felix, I also told you don't judge a book by its cover. Don't forget that. Kyle, I haven't. I told you. I looked into this. Nothing ever happens in this town. Meanwhile, at the Haddonfield Public Library, we see Lester searching through the town's history. He can't find any trace of a crime. No robberies or murders. Lester finds this very strange. He can't shake the feeling he has, so he shuts the computer off and goes up to the library. Lester, excuse me, but where's your cemetery located? Librarian, it's located on Wayward Drive. That's just 4 blocks from here. Lester, okay, thank you. Lester leaves the library and gets in the van. He starts up and heads toward Wayward Drive. It is now 12 p.m. We see Lester walking through the Haddonfield Cemetery. He has parked the van just 2 miles away from the cemetery. He's not even sure what he's looking for, but he's looking at each headstone as he passes it. Then, just then, he comes upon a headstone. He reads it. Judith Myers, born 1947, died 1963, October 31st. He looks at the headstone for a short while and continues walking. After a short while, he comes upon another headstone. Annie Brackett, born 1961, died 1978, October 31st. Just above Annie's headstone, he notices another headstone. Linda Vanderklok, born 1961, died 1978, October 31st. Lester, 17. All these girls died when they were 17, and on Halloween. Why? Lester continues walking, not sure what he'll find. Just then he comes upon another headstone. Jamie Lloyd, born 1980, died 1995, October 31st. Lester, 15, Jesus. Why so young? And why on Halloween? Lester walks clear to the other side of the cemetery. He finds 6 different headstones of some young men and women who died in 2002 on October 31st. Lester can't shake the feeling that he was meant to find these headstones. He questions if fate is intervening. Lester turns around and starts to walk toward the van. After a while, he gets back to the van. Lester gets in the back and decides to make a homemade pipe bomb. It is now 5 p.m. As Kai was leaving to go to the bank, Jessica walks in with her titanium cane and in her Halloween costume. Kyle, hey, sexy, look at you. Felix, great Halloween costume. You look sexy. Jessica blushes. Jessica Hawk, I'm sorry to drop this on you at the last minute, but my friends have invited me to a Halloween party at the last minute. Is that okay? Felix, sure. Go ahead. Knock yourself out. Have a ball. Jessica Hawk, oh, thank you so much. Have a great night and a happy Halloween. Kyle and Felix wish Jessica a happy Halloween, but Jessica doesn't hear Lester. Jessica Hawk, hey, isn't Lester here? Felix, no, but he'll be along soon. Jessica Hawk, are you sure, Felix? I don't want to impose. Felix, you're not imposing. Go to your party. Jessica Hawk, okay. So Jessica and Kyle leave the candy store. Kyle helps Jessica to her friend's car and helps her inside. As he does this, he closes the door and watches her friend's car pull away. After that, he walks across the street to the bank to work security. Meanwhile, we see Lester pull the van up to the back of the candy store. He puts the van in park and shuts off the engine. Lester crawls in the back of the van and opens his black duffel bag. We see the pipe bomb he made. It has a short fuse to it. Lester has a feeling he'll be needing it. Lester zips up his black duffel bag. Just then, Lester gets out of the van and goes into Jessica's candy store. There, he sees Felix standing behind the register. Felix sees Lester come in the back way. Felix, well, what did you find out? Lester shakes his head. Lester, I'm not exactly sure. I went to the library and it was just like Kyle said. No crimes were ever reported or committed. Felix, I feel a butt coming on here. Lester, I went to the cemetery. I can't tell you why I went there or what led me to it, but I just kept walking around in there and I found a strange pattern. There are many young people around the age of 17 and 15 buried in that cemetery. In this town, a lot of the young teens and even some college students. What's really weird, they've all died on Halloween. Some even in the same year. Felix, okay. I gotta admit, that's a little creepy and strange. But here's my question to you, Lester. What does that have to do with us robbing the bank in this town? Let me answer that for you. Nothing. It has nothing to do with us. It doesn't concern us. Lester, you're right. Felix, look, just go wait in the van, and then 9 p.m. rolls around, go to the bank. By that time, Kyle should have all the cameras and alarms turned off. Lester, all right. Meanwhile, Sylvia Springs drives herself and her longtime friend Jessica Hawk clear across town. The house Sylvia has bought without Jessica knowing. Just then, Jessica begins to speak. Jessica Hawk, so who's all coming to this party? Costume party? Sylvia Springs, like I said, some old friends. Jessica Hawk, did you move to Haddonfield, Sylvia? Sylvia Springs, maybe. Jessica Hawk, come on, you can tell me. Sylvia Springs, I did buy a house on 144 Maple Street. It's a 2-storied house with 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. I wanted to be closer to someone I actually knew, and considering you live here in this town, we figured why not be close to a friend? Jessica smiles. Jessica, we, huh? After a while, Sylvia and Jessica pull into the driveway of the house. They have finally arrived at 144 Maple Street. Sylvia puts the car in park and shuts off the engine. Jessica Hawk, Sylvia, Sylvia sprints, hold on and I'll help you. So Sylvia goes around the passenger side of the car and helps Jessica Hawk out of it. As Sylvia helps Jessica out of the car, she begins to speak. Jessica Hawk. Sylvia, all this isn't necessary. Sylvia sprints. Just come on. Sylvia closes the passenger door after Jessica is out. She then begins guiding her blind friend to the door. Once at the door, Sylvia opens it. The two women go inside and Sylvia shuts the door behind them. As soon as she does that, seven friends jump out and yell, "Surprise!" Jessica smiles, as does Sylvia. Jessica Hawk. It sounds like everyone is here. I hear Sean Cummings. Yep. Jessica Hawk. Kate Yard, Barbara Yates, Devin Towns, Kevin Barnes, Jake Stiles, and Jen Towers. Jen Towers. The only one missing is Heather Winters, but she said she would be late. Jessica Hawk. That's Heather, always late. So they start the Halloween party, playing music and drinking. All but Jessica. She has never been much of a drinker. The party continues on for hours. Despite her friends' attempts, Jessica can only think of one thing: her store. It is now 9 p.m. While Lester has snuck over with one of the laptops to the bank, and he and Kyle attempt to open the vault. Kyle, how's it coming? Lester, this computer has to link with this one. As it does, we'll run the same program the main computer does here, and then it will shut off the sensor. Kyle, all those bearer bonds. You got the briefcase? Lester, right here. Kyle looks to see a brown briefcase right beside Lester. Lester, how's it looking across the street? Kyle goes over to the door, and when he does, he sees a line full of customers. Kyle, holy shit! Lester, that bad? Kyle, yeah, there's one hell of a line out there. Lester, when we leave, we'll go out the back of the bank and circle around and go to the back of the candy store. Kyle, you do know Felix moved the van in front of the store. Lester, well, just have to take the briefcase in the store with us. It's not like anyone's going to look inside. Just then, Lester and Kyle hear a click, and the vault unlocks and comes open. Both men go into the vault and put the bearer bonds in the briefcase. Once they fill it, they shut and lock the briefcase. They leave and shut the vault. They go out of the back of the bank. Lester, all right, change. We don't need those customers at the candy store asking questions. So Kyle changes into his street clothes and leaves his security clothes in the bushes. Then he and Lester cross the street and around the store, walking right into Jessica's candy store. Felix, about time. I could use the help. Felix isn't kidding. The store is packed with customers buying candy hand over fist. The men have no time to hide the briefcase. They set it on the floor right beside the counter. Several customers are coming in all at once. The three men are struggling to get them the things they want. It's a madhouse, still full of people. One woman comes in carrying a brown briefcase. This woman sets her briefcase on the floor next to the brown briefcase, filled with bearer bonds. Felix, can I help you, miss? Heather Winters, my friend owns this fucking store. You better be able to help me. Felix, you know Jessica. Heather Winters, did I stutter? Felix, no. Heather Winters, I placed an order under my name for a party we're throwing for Jessica, and considering I have to drive all the way over to 144 Maple Street, I'm in a hurry. Felix checks the chart. Felix, oh, here you are, Heather Winters. Yep, here you go. Two large bags of gumdrops. Heather pays for her candy, picks up a briefcase, and leaves the store. She gets in her car, and starts the engine, and begins driving to 144 Maple Street. but another car begins to follow Heather. She is unaware that the other car is following her, and that car is none other than Michael Myers. Meanwhile, back at the candy store, things are finally beginning to settle down. The three men serve the final four customers and watch them leave. It is now 10 p.m. Kyle walks over and flips the sign to where it says closed. He also pulls the blinds down to where no one can see in. Lester, thank God. Felix lifts the briefcase and sets it down on the counter. Felix, boys, we're $50 million richer. Felix opens the briefcase. Felix's smile turns to a look of shock. Lester, what is it? Kyle, Felix, hey man, what's wrong? Felix thinks back. He remembers Heather walking in with the very same type of briefcase. Felix, that bitch. Lester and Kyle look to see the briefcase is filled with blank paper as all three men storm out of the candy store and proceed to get into the van. They begin talking. Kyle, do you know where she went? Felix, my dear Kyle, I not only know where she went, but Heather is friends with our dear sweet Jessica. Kyle, fuck. Lester, look, there's no reason to panic. We wait until they fall asleep and one of us sneaks in. Meanwhile, across town, we see most of Jessica's friends partying. Heather has even finally arrived. All the while, we see Jessica and Sylvia upstairs in the far bedroom talking. Jessica Hawk, I knew there was more to this party. Sylvia's friends, why should you live alone? You have no family left. Jessica, it's at least something to consider. Jessica, who is sitting on the bed. Jessica Hawk, I'll think about it, okay? Sylvia's friends, okay. Just then, Heather Winters walks into the bedroom with her brown briefcase and sets it on the bed beside Jessica. Heather Winters, hey girls! Jessica can smell the beer on Heather's breath. It hasn't taken her long to become drunk. Meanwhile, downstairs we see Jake Stiles has stepped outside for a moment. Jake is unaware he is being watched. Michael is watching him smoke a cigarette. Jake steps around the corner of the house and out of sight of the other guest. Michael walks toward him. As Jake turns around, Michael stabs him in the stomach and pulls a knife up, cutting Jake wide open, causing him to bleed to death. Then Michael takes the knife and cuts the power, killing all the lights in the house. Just then, in the upstairs bedroom, Sylvia springs. Shit, what happened? Some of the others hear her. Jen Towers, Jake went outside. He must have knocked out the power. Sylvia springs. Idiot. Heather Winters, I'll go yell at that asshole. So Heather goes downstairs to where Kevin, Devin, Kate, and Jen are. Heather Winters, I'm going to go yell at Jake. Kate Yard, I'll come with you. So Kate and Heather go outside. When they do, the women split up, one going to the right side of the house, while Heather walks toward the tool shed. Heather opens the door to the tool shed, only to have her throat slit ear to ear. Michael just leaves her body drop. Meanwhile, we see Kate on the other side of the house. Kate Yard, Jake, Jake. No answer. Kate Yard, to hell with you, Jake. Kate turns around and Michael stabs her in the stomach. He sinks the knife into her stomach and slices across her belly, killing her instantly. Meanwhile, in the house, we see Kevin has gone to the fridge and gets another beer out. Before he can, a knife goes into his back and he is lifted into the air. His body begins shaking in the air. His body is gone completely lifeless. Michael pulls out the knife and Kevin's body hits the floor. Devin Towns, hey Kevin, what did you do? Slip? Ha ha. Sylvia and Jessica heard it too. Sylvia sprints. That doesn't sound like he slipped. Sylvia sprints. Jessica, I'll be right back. I'm going to see why they haven't gotten the lights back on. As Sylvia leaves the bedroom, she shuts the door. Meanwhile, we see Felix, Lester, and Kyle have finally arrived. Felix puts the van in park. Felix. Hard to believe. They're asleep already. Kyle. I'll go in, Felix. Felix. We'll be waiting. So Kyle grabs a rope and goes to the side of the house. He makes a lasso and throws it up. The lasso catches the chimney. He begins to pull himself up. Meanwhile, back in the house, we see Sylvia walking along the banister leading to the staircase. Sylvia sprints. Guys, what's going on? Just then, we see Michael Myers step out of the darkness and stick his knife right in Sylvia's throat. Sylvia is choking on her own blood. Michael pulls out the knife. As he does, Sylvia's body falls down the steps. The thud is so hard, Jessica can hear it. She may not be able to see, but her hearing is very sharp. The sound of the thud is violent to Jessica. She thinks to herself, could it be a prank? No, she thinks to her, they wouldn't be that extreme. Jessica thinks and thinks. She can't stand the silence. Jessica Hawk. Sylvia? Michael hears her and turns around toward the bedroom door in front of him. He begins walking toward it. Jessica can hear footsteps. She holds her titanium stick tightly. Michael turns the knob and opens a door. He can see Jessica sitting on the bed. He stands there looking at her, breathing. Jessica Hawk can hear the heavy breathing. She knows deep down it's no one she knows. None of her friends would be so cruel and sick to pull something like this. Jessica Hawk. Hello? I said hello. Answer me, goddamn you. Michael walks closer. He is standing right in front of Jessica. He raises his knife and brings it down. Just as he's bringing it down, completely by accident, his knife catches her titanium stick, causing him to lose his knife, knocking it from her hand. Jessica realizes the person in front of her is a threat. They mean her harm. She swings her rod, connecting right in the head, knocking Michael back but not down. He charges her. She swings her stick again. He catches it and pulls it away from her and throws it across the room. Then he grabs her by the throat, pressing her against the wall. He lifts her in the air. Just then, Kyle comes in the window. Kyle shines his light in Michael's face, drawing his attention toward him. Michael lets Jessica go. She drops to the floor, coughing. Michael quickly walks over to Kyle, but he draws his gun and shoots Michael. Kyle shoots Michael 6 times, causing him to drop. The sound of the gun alerts Felix and Lester. They get out of the van. Lester grabs the pipe bomb without even realizing it, and they run toward the house. They try the door, but it won't budge. So Lester opens the window of the living room. He crawls in. Felix comes in right behind him. Lester and Felix see what it is blocking the door. It is a dead body of a young man. Felix. Come on, upstairs. So as Felix and Lester come upstairs, we see Jessica crawling out of the room on her hands and knees. Felix. What the hell was going on? Kyle comes to the doorway of the bedroom with the briefcase. Felix. You got it? Just then, Michael comes up behind Kyle and slits his throat ear to ear. Kyle drops the briefcase. Felix makes a play for the case, but he is met by Michael stabbing him. Lester grabs Jessica and the two head downstairs. Lester realizes there's no time for the door or window. Michael is standing at the top of the stairs. He heads into the kitchen with Jessica. When they do, Lester sees the stove. He pulls out the stove and pulls the pipes and hears the hissing. It's a gas stove. He hands Jessica the pipe bomb and his lighter. Lester. I'm sorry about all this. You'll have to light it. I'll try to buy you some time. Lester turns around to see Michael standing there. He throws a punch at Michael, but it doesn't faze him. He throws a second punch. Jessica feels for the fuse with her finger. She finds it. She feels for the lighter and begins to try to light the fuse. Lester throws a third punch, but still nothing. Michael, with raw strength, picks Lester up and is just choking the life right out of him. The air goes out of Lester, killing him. Michael walks towards Jessica. Finally, the lighter lights. The flame touches the fuse. Jessica Hawk. Goodbye. Boom! The whole first floor explodes and the house catches the fire, killing Jessica and perhaps Michael. Question mark. There is much crime in the world we live in, but perhaps the biggest crime can be the secret one town tries to keep from the rest of the world. Alright guys, I'm going to thank you for listening to this audio reading of my story. I hope you heard me well. How did I come up with this? I'm going to answer that. I actually had a dream about these two men driving a van. I was sort of sitting in the back in the dream, and I'm thinking, where are these two jackasses going? And then the sign for Haddonfield came up, and then I just came up with the rest of the story. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I want to thank you for listening, and for those who read it on my blog, thank you. I read this off my Microsoft Words, so I just want to thank everybody. Thank you so much for the support. It means a lot. And I'll see you on the next one.